Hey everybody, Daniel from Spacedock here, and as this video is going out the day before the Halo Infinite story drops, I thought it might be a good time to list off my personal list of UNSC Halo hero ships from worst to best. Those being the sort of main ships of each game, I guess. Halo doesn't really do the whole hero ship principle quite as enthusiastically as other franchises do, but I think you'll get the picture as we go into this. So, starting out in last place, I'm afraid, and it's a ship that I don't hate, but I know a lot of Halo fans do, and that is the Unsc Infinity. Now, I think for a typical kind of standard issue, human sci-fi flying brick kind of deal, this is a pretty cool ship. It looks quite good. I think the reason a lot of people don't like it is kind of the narrative result of its existence. It's introduced in this amazing cutscene in the main menus of Halo 4, where they say, "We were mice hiding from the giants, and now we are the giants. We are the giants now," is the line. And that's really cool, and it's amazing to see the UNSC developed into this advanced galaxy-spanning power, where they've got all this Forerunner technology built into their ships and everything, and this huge supercarrier in the Infinity. And that, in the moment it's revealed to you, is really cool, but it doesn't really make for a great story, which is the unfortunate after effect of kind of removing the underdog status of the humans there by giving them this all-powerful ship. Once the initial excitement of seeing it plow clear through Covenant ships and take on hundreds of things on its own and launch frigates and corvettes out of its belly and all this stuff, once you've kind of admired how cool this thing is, it's not really that exciting as a hero ship. It doesn't quite have the same charm as the other things on this list, I would say. But design-wise, it's not bad. It doesn't really have the same kind of classic flying rifle kind of frame that most older UNSC ships had, but it certainly makes an impression, and kudos to it for having a bit more longevity than most Halo hero ships do. It's managed to live through a couple of games, and I don't know this, I was not given a copy of Halo Infinite or anything like that, but I think we can safely assume it's going to get destroyed in the opening cutscene of that game. Place your bets now. That thing has already exceeded the average lifespan of a Halo hero ship by like 250%. Its ticket has been pulled, I'm afraid, but we'll find out tomorrow, who knows. Either way, not a bad design, a good statement of kind of developed technology and a picture of the future for human ships in Halo, but not as narratively exciting or endearing as the other ships on this list. Next up, it's the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, the ship that started the whole thing. Another space brick, though a little bit more of an interesting one, I think, than the Infinity. It has this kind of like squashed, taller shape to it, with these huge engines, and it's probably the most brutalist and utilitarian ship design in Halo. It's not a pretty ship. Its bridge is in a weird place on the prow. It's got this abrupt end to it at the aft, where it's just flat with these big engines. Doesn't really have any kind of elegant lines to it at all. It's just a big, blunt brick. And that's a good introduction to the UNSC, I think, for it being the start of the series. I love seeing all of the interior at the beginning of Halo 1, where you get to see all the Scorpions and Pelicans in the big interior loading bays. And the way the whole ship is built around the Mac gun was the first establishment of a very, very iconic style for UNSC ships in Halo that would later be employed into even cooler looking ships, I would say, that we'll hear about later in this list. And it also established the long-running Halo tradition of blowing up your slipstream drive to turn your ship into a bomb. To be honest, Halo has this amusingly unromantic attitude towards its ships, where most science fiction has this wonderful kind of tall ships, poetic vibe to its spacecraft, where they're all kind of treated as these beautiful, endearing machines. Halo pretty much treats its hero ships the same way it treats its warthogs. They're just something that you dispose of on your way somewhere. They're completely consumable units. And it kind of fits the tone of the setting, I guess, because the UNSC, routinely loses about 30 ships every time they fight one Covenant ship, and it kind of punches down just how one-sided this whole war is. But yeah, the Pillar of Autumn was the first of many to be blown up in the pursuit of some kind of plot device, a tradition that was continued almost exactingly to this next design, which I really like, which is Amber Clad from Halo 2. This is the Stalwart-class light frigate, which is the first of the 3 frigate types with this kind of frame that we see throughout Halo. The others being the Charon class and the Paris class, which we see in Halo 3 and Halo Reach, respectively. It's certainly got this sort of older, kind of worn battleship vibe to it that the other two don't really have. The other two are a little sleeker, kind of increasingly sleek, as you move towards the Paris class, which doesn't have any of the loading bays and is very much kind of an attack frigate. This is a sort of middle ground kind of light frigate design, which I like. It's the first time we're introduced to the full-on flying rifle kind of style, which was pretty much lifted from the Sulaco from Aliens, which inspired a hell of a lot of things in Halo. All of the Marines are heavily inspired by Aliens. That franchise kind of looms large over Halo. But in Amber Clad in particular is great, and we didn't really see that much of it in Halo 2. It gets its wonderful chase sequence with the where it dives through the slipstream portal over the city. But then it doesn't appear too much until it is again blown up using its slipstream drive, much like the Pillar of Autumn. It's even lampshaded by Cortana in the game, saying it's not a very original plan. I always thought it's kind of interesting to see the remnants of this ship's complement around the place. A lot of, like, all the way through Halo 2, you keep encountering human flood forms in the, like, way into the second half of the game, which seems to suggest that Commander Keyes just, like, deployed her entire contingent of Marines to this ring and got them all infected by the flood. There's a, like, ludicrous number of infected humans going around that must all be from in Amber Clad. And then in Halo 3, you find a wrecked Pelican on High Charity, which has been assimilated by the flood, and use it to escape with the Arbiter. Presumably that is one of in Amber Clad's Pelicans, because where else could it have come from? So that's kind of cool little bit of afterglow that you see of this ship and its complement later into the series. But just a really sleek, aggressive, fast-looking design that laid the groundwork for some interesting variations on this shape later on. I didn't like the Halo 4 style frigates, or any of the other kind of frigate styles that the post-war UNSC went for. I think this was really the iconic shape of a Halo ship that they really did a good job with here. And that continues into the next one on this list, which is the wonderfully named UNSC Forward Unto Dawn from Halo 3. Halo is nothing if not good at naming ships. The whole kind of three-word style of UNSC ships, there's one called Lance Held High, which is a really cool name. They almost never put a foot wrong with these. But yes, the Forward Unto Dawn is a Charon-class light frigate, which differs from the Stalwart class mostly in the fact that it has a big troop deployment bay at the aft, which we see in glorious style in Halo 3. One of the best sequences in the whole series, when Forward Unto Dawn comes into the atmosphere of the Ark and deploys an entire tank battalion out of the back of it in this great sequence. Really, really cool. I also love the black hull design of the Forward Unto Dawn. I think this is probably a cooler looking exterior design to the Stalwart class, and you get a great look at it when it comes in to fire its max at the Forerunner Dreadnought in Voy. I believe the other ship that's with it is called UNSC Aegis Fate, which is one of the two frigates loaded aboard the Shadow of Intent to be brought to the Ark later on. Presumably it left with the Shadow of Intent since they need to use Forward Unto Dawn to escape at the end of the game. But yeah, a really cool ship that gets a lot more kind of beauty shots and screen time than in Amber Clad ever did, which I appreciate. And I also like how it's often used, like in Sand Trap in the multiplayer, it kind of hangs over the map, which is a really cool set piece. They knew how good this style looked, and they were right to employ it as liberally as they did, I think. And of course, tragically cut in half by a portal, because no Halo hero ship is permitted to exist for the full length of a game without being horribly destroyed in some way or another. Now, before we get into my favourite Halo hero ship on this list, I want to give two honourable mentions. First to the Covenant carrier Shadow of Intent, the Shipmaster's carrier from Halo 2 and 3, which I think, I'm not sure if it really qualifies as a hero ship, but it does survive the whole thing, and it's the way that they all get home in the end, so points to it for that. Plus it's just representative of the whole human Covenant Rebellion Alliance situation, and it has some great sequences on it. The whole argument between the Shipmaster and Lord Hood, followed up by the sequences of Johnson and the Arbiter handing weapons to each other's Marines and elites and all that, just this kind of great visual storytelling of the cooperation there. Plus it was just cool having one of these things on your side after it's been kind of this spectre of terror for the whole series. And it's a great name. I think somebody named a band after it, Shadow of Intent, which is a good idea, because that is a cool name. And the other honourable mention goes to the poor, ill-fated UNSC Savannah from Halo Reach, the Paris-class frigate, mostly because, as far as I can tell, it only died because nobody remembered to tell it to pull out. It goes in to fight the Corvette, deploys the boarding party, and then like 3 or 4 minutes later, you're walking through the ship and you see it getting its ass kicked out the window, and Colonel Holland is like, oh yeah, Savannah, get out of here. And there's no reason strategically for it to have still been there. Its only job was to deploy that boarding party. And there's even, amusingly, a line where they say damage inflicted by the Savannah has destroyed the doors, so they can't get back to the Sabres. So probably lives would have been saved on the Corvette if the Savannah had pulled out earlier and not trapped them all there. So yeah, some ill-managed space combat there, I would say. Probably that ship didn't have to be destroyed. But again, it was an exciting, shocking sequence when it was destroyed, and contributed to that nice kind of thematic build in Reach of just getting increasingly towards this state of despair as the campaign went on. It was really well done. And finally, in first place, what else would it be but Halos Galactica, the UNSC Spirit of Fire. What a great name. That is such a cool name. Maybe my favorite name for a ship in science fiction. It's so good. Being able to colloquially shorten it to Spirit is great, and just the sort of grandiose name, Spirit of Fire, is brilliant. And it's Phoenix class, which is the second half of a two-part thematic message about it rising from the ashes, because of course it was built as a colony ship and then converted into a warship. So just like a masterclass in naming ships, really. Great stuff. Also, it's a really striking, gorgeous design. It's got all of its history baked into the style of it. And it's the only, I think it's the only true hero ship in Halo, really. It's treated like a hero ship. Cutter loves the ship, all the characters on it are really endeared to it. It is their home. It lasts through 2 full games and it's fine. If they ever destroy this thing, I think it will be really sad, which I don't think is really true of any other Halo ship, so that's kind of evidence of how well they've done with it. And I'm just really invested in its whole plight, lost in the middle of nowhere, trying to get home. It just plugs into that kind of romantic vibe of science fiction that really resonates with me. I love all the long beauty shots we got of it in Halo Wars 1. I was a little bummed out that it's not actually on screen all that much in Halo Wars 2. You mostly just get the inside of its bridge and stuff, and it's kind of in the corner of shots quickly for exterior stuff. Hopefully we do get a future Halo Wars game, and hopefully it is shown off in even more detail and glory, because it's a gorgeous, wonderful ship with a really engaging story that I'm excited to see more of, to be honest with you. But first we get to see the UNSC Infinity inevitably destroyed in the opening cutscene of Halo Infinite tomorrow, so I hope you all enjoy that when it happens, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all for listening. This is Daniel from Spacedock, signing off.